I just got off that bus, that touring bus, and this is Jaco. You can see there's some high-rises here. It is noticeably hotter and more humid than in San Jose. We're at sea level on the Pacific coast. Jaco is a famous beach town, and I didn't record the trip here because frankly I was tired and I don't think we need a lot of shaky footage outside of slats in the window. So we're just going to focus on Jaco because, hey, this is a famous tourist town, so let's see what's here. The first thing I notice is the contrast between a lot of big buildings, much bigger than in most parts of Costa Rica, designed probably either as hotels, long-term rentals, vacation homes, retirement homes, and, you know, on the other side of the street you just have kind of the same scrappiness that you see a lot of places in Costa Rica. And of course, that's true of a lot of tourist and resort towns. I've certainly shown that in the United States, you can have some very fancy things for tourists, and then the rest can look pretty scrappy, especially on the coast where you have a lot of growing. And here it looks like we're entering some prime coastal tourist real estate. Very similar probably in a lot of ways to what we're used to in the United States. Except unlike in Oregon, cannabis isn't legal here, so that takes away one of the major pillars of the retail economy. So here we are in the Central Plaza, the town square. I noticed this in Limon, that unlike the Meseta, where normally this would be like more the center of town and there would usually be the, you know, Canton church here, here this is missing. It's just in the middle of a retail district. Things are a little bit different on the coast. And in other places, other times, I might spend more time here, but here the big draw is the beach. So right now I'm trying to get to the beach as quickly as possible. So one thing I've already noticed is even more than you would see in San Jose, there's a lot of English here. Pacific Center shopping place, adventure, catamaran fishing. A lot of tourists from the United States and Canada here, especially in December. It's a lot warmer here than it is in Chicago or Ontario. So one thing I was curious about, we passed through Tarcoles on the way here, and apparently the bridge over Tarcoles is the best place to view crocodiles in Costa Rica. I actually snapped a picture out the window, didn't see if there was any crocodiles in that picture, but I also was wondering if the river here would have any wildlife, or if I'd see any wildlife. So far, I've been kind of disappointing on that end. Haven't even seen a gecko or an iguana, but we'll see when we go down the beach if we do see more of something. Oceanside Realty, Crystal Dental Care. So some of this is dental tourism. There's even more English there than usual. Looks like a road down to the beach, but I'm going to actually walk along this way a little bit further first. So the ride here was actually over 2.5 hours. Didn't really have time to eat much in the morning, and it's too hot to eat real food here for me. I hate eating in the heat. That means it's milkshake time. Looking across the street and see if this road goes down to the beach. Well, it goes down to somewhere. Let's find out. The bus I took only runs like 4 or 5 times a day there and back, and it is a 2.5 hour trip. So in this case, I actually bought online my tickets to here and my ticket back for specific hours. So I have to be back at the station by 5 o'clock, and right now it's like 2:20. So I have another 2 hours to walk around, and then I'm gonna go back to the station. So not a real long trip today. So this is what I came here for. I think I'm probably going to walk that way, away from where I've been, and then slowly just walk back that way. And I will see what's here. And apparently people ride horses on the beach. This feels like a lot of other beach walks I've had in my life. Not totally the same, but similar. And the temperature here, it's warm, but it's not like grueling. So I'm doing fine just walking along the beach. Do kind of miss the cool sea breeze that I'd have in Oregon, but I am not in Oregon. One thing I've noticed so far, or haven't noticed so far, haven't seen any crab shells or crustacean shells or even mollusk shells compared to what I'm used to. Also, I haven't seen any sand fleas or kelp. In general, it hasn't been a very interesting walk as far as the nature goes. Don't know if that's because of the different climate or the terrain, or maybe that, you know, there's, because this is so settled, those things aren't here. Or to put it more bluntly, whether this has caused habitat destruction. So the quality of the beach just kind of changed. It's become more gravelly, and you can also see there's a lot of water seeping out and forming channels. So my goal right now is I'm going to walk this way towards that head, and I'm hoping that maybe there I will see something a little bit more natural as far as beach goes, but if not, that will be what happens. And then I'm going to turn around and walk back towards town, maybe see a little bit more of town, and hopefully not exhaust myself on this beach. I haven't really even noticed any seagulls, maybe no seagulls at all. That could be a function of when you don't have, you know, food sources on the beach, the seagulls aren't going to come. Again, don't know if that's specific to Jaco or if that is something that is more true of the beaches in Costa Rica. Well, I spoke a little bit too soon because that is some type of sand flea-like creature. So not totally dead, but very different from what I'm used to. We do have these curvy marks, and I believe I knew at one time what made those, and I think those are made by something alive, but whatever it is, I can't see it now, even though there's a lot of these marks. Well, I'm getting pretty close to here, and from there I'll be able to see if I can continue any further along there, but it doesn't look like I can. Crossing this band of water spreading out from a creek. This is something I'm familiar with. If my shoes get wet, my trip back might be unpleasant. I did remember to pack a spare pair of socks. That's good. There is some type of plover bird. That's the first one I think I've seen. Looks like we have some thunder over there. Still very hot here. Don't know if that's going to turn into a thing. Yes, it's one of many things. We will find out. We do have a little path up this way. So I'm going to walk here for a while, but I'm not going to do anything out of the ordinary. No reason to take risks and go wandering out into some tide pools, but at least for a couple dozen feet I'll see what's going on. So here finally do find fish, and I did see crab. I don't know, that was just another fish, or maybe I did see a crab and then forgot it. But there is living things here, so that makes me happy. Well, this is interesting. I want to make a note of that. Once you cross that turn, you actually do reach a secluded and rocky beach. I was going to go down it, but I don't know if this tide is coming in and would cut me off. So from here, I'm going to head back this way. There's one thing that's super conspicuous for me here by its absence, which I don't see any barnacles. And of course, on the Pacific coast, the North Pacific coast, you leave a piece of wood near the beach and it gets covered with barnacles, even when it seems to be too far inland. But here, I don't see any barnacles, so I don't know if barnacles are if the water is too hot for them or what, or maybe I'm just totally missing it, but I don't see any barnacles here. We do have some snails here. Don't know what type, but we have some snails, and I think they're feeding on something, but I don't know what. So once I got away from the most populated beach and got to these rocks, I have noticed some little crabs that move very quick. I noticed the fish, the snails, a couple of birds. So some of the dearth of wildlife on the beach might just be a side effect of, first, it's a beach, so not a lot of rocks and places to hide, and also that it's near an inhabited area. So I don't do this often. I'm going to show myself walking down the beach with the hills behind me. The reason I'm doing this is, I don't know, but I think my face is pretty flushed and sweaty. So I'm going to show that because I want to show why I'm kind of curtailing my activities and walking back now, because it is easy to really tire yourself out in a climate you're not accustomed to. So we can see a thunderstorm over that way, and you can hear that wind coming in, and it's nice because it's cooling me off. Hopefully I will not get soaking wet rained on though, because then I have a 2.5 hour ride back. This is another thing I wanted to show. We have a headland there, that's all close to us. And then if you look over in the distance, it's not really distinct, but you can see land. That is the peninsula of Nicoya, which right here is in Puntarenas Province, like Jaco. But then that peninsula goes north into Guanacaste Province. So this right here is the entrance to the Golfo de Nicoya, the Gulf of Nicoya. Over here, I believe this is the open Pacific, and then here is the Gulf of Nicoya, and I'm guessing that Jaco is where it is because the terrain is really good at the entrance to the Gulf, as well as the waves are good and stuff like that. Not sure on all the geology, but I think it's something like that. So I'm going to go sit down on this driftwood for a second. While walking back to town, I wanted to make a few notes about the geography of Jaco. So this is in Puntarenas Province. I'm assuming it's its own canton. That's something I should check, and I'll probably put that information in the description. And it's about 50 miles south, maybe less than that, south of the Puntarenas Peninsula. Puntarenas Province is very long. It follows most of the Pacific coast between Panama up to north of here. And it's a canton, probably with districts. And one thing to note is that while this looks very tourist oriented and new, the area around here, a lot of just small little towns, like a lot of Costa Rica, looks kind of scrappy, not terrible, but the center of Jaco is not indicative of what most of the Pacific coast looks like. So you can see people out there surfing or wading deep in the ocean. This beach might be a lot more fun if you're really into surfing. I saw signs for surf schools, and it is fun. It's a day at the beach, but I think it's specifically for certain activities like that that make it like stellar, and why this is one of the main tourist beaches. And here we have some type of natural or semi-natural lagoon. That looks interesting. Don't know why I didn't notice it when I came in, probably because I was walking close to the ocean. That's a peaceful little site. I don't know how that is for wildlife. Maybe I can finally see some crocodiles and they can finally see me, but it doesn't look like it. In fact, I'm still surprised that I haven't even seen any lizards, because when I went to Puntarenas last year, December, there was big iguanas crawling all around, and here I don't see anything like that. And another notice for advanced beach walkers, this sand and gravel of the beach has all been really easy to walk on. It's been really nicely packed and wet where I've been walking, so I haven't had to trudge through like shifting sand. I don't like sand. It's dry, it's irritating, and it gets everywhere. So one thing I will say while I'm on the beach and I have time to give a little speech, I would say that if you do come to Jaco from San Jose, make it a multiple day trip. I can get here and back, but I'm going to spend 5 hours in the bus for 3 hours at the beach. And that's fine because I get out of the house and I get to see the lay of the land and can think about future trips. But with traffic, what it is from San Jose right now, just being so dense and taking so much time and kind of being frustrated, stuck in traffic, might as well, if you're able, like rent a hotel room, maybe not in that building, but one of these buildings, and spend the weekend here so you can spend more time relaxing and less time traveling. And that's pretty much true for anywhere outside of San Jose right now, because just the traffic has gotten so bad. So I'm back on this boardwalk, such as it is, bordering the beach. I'm just going to walk along this for a while if it persists. Okay, this answers one of my questions. Municipalidad de Garabito. So this Jaco is not actually the name of a canton, it's the district of Garabito. Might be the head city, but it might not be. I should know these things, but I don't. This has been a little bit further on the way back than it was on the way there. And one thing about the beach is because you don't have the normal cues, it is sometimes hard to see how far distances are. So that headland was a little bit further away than I thought it was. And so walking back, I've gotten pretty tired. And I still have about an hour, but I'm probably not going to do too much wandering. Originally, I thought I could walk all the way there and walk to the next headland. Not so much. So there's a notice here about rip currents, or as they call them here, corriente de retorno. Usted puede sobrevivir a una corriente de retorno. Well, I'm a 2 and not an usted, so I'm not sure. So honestly, for me, coming from Oregon, like I know that the water here is warmer. There's not rocks. It's a normal place to learn to surf, but I still see people out in the water. I'm like, no, no. This is something that's new to me. That is a coconut, and they are a common thing piled up on the beach from coconut trees, which of course, that's a normal part of being in the tropics, but of course, I'm not used to coconuts. Well, this solves the mystery of where those horse prints came from. I guess these are horses that you can rent to go ride on the beach. I could turn there and walk back, but I'm going to walk along this promenade or whatever it is for a while. Well, that's some type of heron as far as I can tell. And I can't tell whether that's a great blue heron or an egret or something I'm not familiar with. Oh look, he's coming closer. He wants to let me know. Yeah, that kind of looks like something that I'm just not familiar with, but something in the heron or egret family. So, always nice to see a friend. Well, we've reached the body of water, so I'm going to turn around and walk back into town. So roads like this, if I just had a weekend here, I was just casually walking around, there'd probably be a lot of nice little charming side streets, just kind of slowly go along. Jaco isn't the place to go if you have to be in a rush, I guess is the point there. I'm back on the main street, walking back towards the terminal. Still have an hour, but walking slowly. Bus also shows up and loads before it leaves, so changes my schedule a little. And yeah, this is the main street of a tourist town on the beach. We've certainly seen these before. A little bit different than Waldport, maybe closer to Newport, but it's something that we've seen before. So I'm back in the town square. And I'm gonna change some clothing actually, and sit down for a minute and change my clothing. I really need to stop dropping my camera. Well, if all else fails, I always have this like one shot with that much focus. Okay, well that works fine. So I noticed this the second time I came to this park. Johannes Dankers, which is not a very Latino sounding name, but it's true in Latin America. There are people from many different cultures and heritages. As I walk down the street on my way out, I want to give some executive summaries. The first is that this is a tourist beach town, and it looks like a tourist beach town. And I didn't see anything here that was like super amazing. It's not like some mystical villa where monkeys and parrots are swinging overhead and flying overhead and singing songs and there's people dancing in the street. It's a tourist beach town. The second point, this is also pretty obvious. Because it takes a while to get here, spend some time here. And I especially think that maybe there's more good natural stuff to see if you get to spend a couple days here and go a little bit outside of, the middle of the pizza and t-shirt zone. And I didn't get a chance to do that today, but I certainly did see hints of that. Like when I went out further, I did see tide pools. And I think if you go inland, there's all sorts of activities. So I think this is an area that's really an area and not just a town. But today I just got to see the town, not the whole area. And the third point, and you don't really have to think about this because it's just to ruin the fun. Like I said, the first thing I saw, the difference between this and this. So a lot of this tropical paradise stuff is a bit overblown, or it's not universal. And you go a little bit outside of this and you see, towns that are not quite as developed and don't have quite as many services. And I've certainly talked about that a lot in the United States. Where do all the service workers in these restaurants work? Well, that's just to be a Debbie Downer. And also, like, you know, there's an entire discussion to be had about the ethics and propriety of tourism as far as its ecological and cultural and economic impact. I'll let that be a debate for someone else. But you certainly see some of that here, because you see, I mean, this is one of the things that's clear in the video, not everything looks like these newly built towers. Note to me and to you, the terminal de buses in Jaco is not really a terminal. It's like this little shopping plaza with some buses by it, which also means it doesn't even have a pay restroom as far as I can tell. Addendum, there actually are bathrooms and they're free. So this is more like a real terminal with real services. Sorry I said that falsely earlier. So now I'm walking north because I still have a couple minutes. I just want to see what's a little bit north of the bus terminal. And then as a final note for me, since I've been here, and I've been here almost 2 months, I haven't left really the San Jose area. So this was my first trip outside the San Jose area. And one reason is that, like, especially on YouTube, I think there are certain places people are interested in, and you know, one of the ideas is more people want to see a big tourist resort and destination like Jaco more than want to see Cervantes. That might not be true, because Jaco is already kind of saturated and Cervantes isn't, but I do want to kind of show that I am exploring and doing things and not just kind of like riding random buses close to my house. So we'll see if people are interested in that. And in general, I just want to have a dialogue, and I want to show things that people are interested in and get questions and, you know, see how this challenges people's preconceptions, etc. So that was kind of the reason why I took a more of an adventure today. Although still not a mega adventure, still a day trip. We'll see what's happening in the future. So I've walked to the end of this little road just north of the bus terminal. And looks like we just have some more open beach here. And I'm just going to see what it looks like here, whether it's the same or different. So this looks pretty comparable to what's on the other side, although it is a little bit further from town, so maybe it's a little bit more quiet here. Looks about the same though. And my goal now, before I leave, is I want to touch the Pacific. There we go. Also looks that if you did go that way, there might be something interesting and more natural that way. Maybe I should have come this way in the beginning to start with. But now I know, and I might come back here again and see things a little bit more out of the way. I just have to walk a little ways up the road, and it's only 10 minutes until my bus starts boarding, is the plan. And the only other thing I would say is, obviously this is a tourist town, this is not the wilderness, but still, because it's, you know, the climate is different, and at other times there could be big storms, you could exert yourself in the heat, that type of thing. You know, when you are coming, be prepared, bring food and water, bring a change of socks, and clothing, that type of thing. Because even though this is a tourist town and the services are pretty good, it's still different, so, you know, always be prepared. I think that's the last thing I'll say. Don't think I'll need to record much after this, but hope you like visiting Jaco, and there might be more trips further afield coming up.